Why you need to stop trying to control everything. How many hours of your day do you spend trying to predict tomorrow? How many times have you checked your phone just to make sure everything is under control? We make plans to feel safe, but life takes completely different turns. According to philosopher Alan Watts, this obsession with controlling everything isn't our protection against suffering. It's exactly the cause of it. You wake up and immediately organize the entire day in your head, what you'll eat, where, say at the meeting. It seems that if we plan every second, nothing bad can catch us by surprise. But then life happens, traffic gets stuck, someone cancels, unexpected news arrives, and that mental house of cards collapses. Frustration hits because reality didn't follow the script you wrote. Alan Watts spent his life studying why we do this. His answer is simple and profound. We try to control everything because we're afraid. Afraid of the unknown, of suffering, of losing what we have, of not being enough. We create the illusion that if we organize everything, if we predict every possibility, we'll be safe. But life doesn't work like that. It's a river that runs wherever it wants, no matter how many dams you try to build. Reality changes all the time. Every second is unique and will never return. The world isn't a programmable machine. It's a living organism, breathing, transforming, surprising. When you look at nature, you see this clearly. Seasons change, tides rise and fall, plants grow and die. Nothing stays static, but we have enormous difficulty accepting this. We want to freeze the good moments and delete the bad ones. We think we should be able to choose exactly how our life will be, as if we were assembling a perfect puzzle. But life didn't come with an instruction manual. It's more like jazz improvisation than a rehearsed symphony. Alan Watts said that life is not a problem to be solved, but an experience to be lived. Let that sink into your mind. A problem has a definitive solution, but experience is something you live, feel, go through. There's no right or wrong answer. There's only what's happening now. So why do we insist on treating life as if it were a giant problem to solve? The answer lies in our mind. Our brain is incredible at creating patterns and making predictions. It learns from the past to try to guarantee our survival in the future. When our ancestors saw a shadow in the forest, it was better to assume it was a predator. Hesitation meant becoming dinner. The problem is that today we no longer live running from lions, but our mind still operates as if we did. It turns everything into a potential threat. A work meeting becomes a matter of life or death. An unanswered message feels like catastrophic rejection. A small mistake turns into proof that we're a complete failure. And to deal with all these imaginary threats, the mind offers the perfect solution: control. But let's be honest. How many times have you tried to control a situation and it worked out exactly as planned? Few times. And how many times have you felt frustrated, stressed, lost sleep trying to keep everything on track? Countless. The equation is simple. If I believe I can and must control everything, when things get out of control, I feel guilty, incapable, anxious. It's like trying to hold sand in your hand. The harder you squeeze, the more it escapes. The nature of sand is to flow. You can relax with an open hand and let the sand rest in your palm, or you can spend the whole day at war with gravity. There's something deeper behind this obsession: impermanence. What really terrifies us is knowing that everything changes and everything ends. The people we love will die someday. We will die someday. Happy moments don't last forever. Youth fades, health can fail, jobs end, relationships transform. Nothing, absolutely nothing, is permanent. This truth scares the ego so much that it builds an entire structure of denial. If I exercise enough, I'll never get sick. If I'm perfect in my relationship, I'll never be abandoned. Lies we tell ourselves because facing impermanence feels unbearable. But you know what's even more unbearable? Living in constant tension, trying to prevent the inevitable. It's like building sandcastles while the tide rises. You know the wave is coming. You can spend all your energy building walls and barriers. Or you can enjoy the time building something beautiful, knowing it's temporary. The wave doesn't ask your opinion. It simply comes. The real question is how you'll be when it arrives. At war or at peace. There's a fascinating paradox in all of this. The more you try to control something, the less control you actually have. Think of a person who wants to control their partner in a relationship. They start checking messages, asking where the person is all the time, creating rule after rule. What happens? The relationship becomes suffocating. The other person begins to feel trapped, watched, with no room to breathe. Ironically, this increases the chances of them wanting to leave. The attempt to avoid loss creates exactly the situation you feared. Human suffering has a clear root: attachment. We cling to things, people, ideas, plans, to our own self-image. And since everything is transitory, that attachment inevitably hurts us. It's like hugging someone who is leaving and refusing to let go. You might hold on for a few more seconds, but eventually they go, and you're left there with aching arms and a broken heart. Buddhism explains this clearly. Life is suffering because we cling to what is impermanent and resist what is inevitable. We want good things to last forever and bad things never to happen. But pleasure and pain are part of the same package. When you truly open yourself to love someone, you automatically open yourself to the possibility of losing them. Alan Watts had another powerful phrase: "The only true security lies in the willingness to feel insecure." Sounds contradictory, but it makes perfect sense. When you accept that life is uncertain by nature, you stop fighting against that uncertainty. You stop wasting energy trying to build an impenetrable fortress and learn to be flexible. You learn to trust your ability to deal with whatever comes, not in the illusion that nothing will come. It's like learning to surf. The surfer doesn't try to control the wave. That would be ridiculous. The wave is 1,000 times bigger and stronger than him. What he does is learn to read the wave, feel the right moment, balance himself on the movement. He works with the force of nature, not against it. And even so, sometimes he falls. That's part of it. The difference is that he doesn't see the fall as failure. He sees it as part of the experience. There's a huge difference between trying to control the external world and developing internal control. The external world is not in your hands. Other people, the weather, the economy, global events, none of that is under your command. Your inner world, on the other hand, your reactions, your choices, your perspective, that you can work on. When someone says something offensive, you can't control what the person said, but you control how you'll process it. Will you let it ruin your day, or will you recognize that it says more about the other person than about you? When a project goes wrong, you don't control the outcome, but you control whether you'll use it as a learning experience or as a reason to punish yourself for weeks. This is the kind of control that really matters. Internal control. And ironically, the more you develop this internal control, the less you need to control the external, because you trust that no matter what happens out there, you'll be able to handle it in here. That's true strength. Not being hard and inflexible like a rock that eventually breaks, but being flexible like bamboo that bends with the wind but doesn't break. Healthy relationships require something that scares many people: mutual freedom. Allowing the other to be who they are without trying to fit them into a mold. Expressing your needs without demanding that the other always meet them. Having clear boundaries without being controlling. It's a delicate balance. You take care of yourself, respect the other, and trust that if the relationship is meant to be, it flows naturally. If it isn't, no amount of control will save it. It will only prolong the agony. Society bombards us with the message that we must be productive, efficient, optimized. Perfect morning routine, clear goals, 5-year plan, always up-to-date to-do list, time management courses, productivity apps, performance coaches, all selling the same promise. If you get organized properly, you'll master life. Social media has made all this worse. Now you don't just have to control your real life, you have to control your online image too. Every photo perfect, every caption calculated, every story thought out to give the right impression. People live managing a personal brand as if they were companies, and they end up exhausted, anxious, feeling like it's never enough. What do we do with all of this? How do we live in a world that demands organization without falling into the trap of obsessive control? The answer lies in an ancient concept. The Taoists called it Wu Wei. It means something like effortless action or non-action that is action. Think of a river that finds a rock in its path. It doesn't stop to make a detailed plan on how it will overcome the obstacle. It simply flows around it. A tree growing on a rocky mountainside doesn't force its roots straight through the stone. It finds the available paths, adapts, grows crooked if necessary. Nature doesn't force. Nature responds. That's what Wu Wei is. You act when you need to act, but you don't force when it's not necessary. You do your part without becoming obsessed with the result. You make an effort, but remain loose, not tense. It's like rowing a boat in the river. You row to have direction, but you let the current help you. You don't row against the water trying to make the river go where it doesn't want to. In practical life, this means doing what is within your reach and letting go of the rest. You study for the exam, but you can't control the questions that will appear. You take care of yourself, but you can't control whether you'll get sick. You're honest in your relationship, but you can't control whether the other person will stay or leave. You work well, but you can't control whether you'll get promoted. You do your best with what depends on you and let the universe do its part. And there's a word that's essential in this conversation: trust. Not trust that everything will turn out exactly the way you imagined, but trust that you'll be okay no matter what. Trust that life knows what it's doing even when it looks like chaos. Trust that you have the inner resources to handle whatever comes. This trust isn't naivety. It's not pretending that nothing bad exists. It's recognizing that bad and good are temporary judgments. Something that seems terrible today may reveal itself as a blessing in disguise later. How many times have you gone through something you thought was the end of the world, but now you look back and see it was necessary to get where you are? Life has a greater wisdom than our limited mind can see. You look at your own story and see how many things happened differently than you planned and yet still brought you here. You see the mistakes that taught you more than your successes. You see the losses that created space for new things. Trusting this isn't being passive. It's being wise. Trust also requires presence, because you can only trust in the now. The past is gone and you can no longer change it. The future doesn't exist yet and you can't guarantee it. The only real moment is this one. And right now you're okay, you're breathing, you're alive, you're here. It may not be perfect, there may be challenges, but you're getting through. When you return to the present, the anxiety of control decreases, because anxiety lives in the future. In the now, there's nothing to control, there's only something to live. Why is the ego so obsessed with control? Because the ego feels separate. It looks at the world and sees a clear boundary. Here am I, and there is everything that is not me. And if it's separate, it's in danger. It needs to defend itself, protect itself, control what's on the other side of the boundary to avoid being hurt. But Alan Watts had a completely different vision. He said, "You're not something that came into the world from outside. You grew out of the world. Just as an apple grows from an apple tree, you grew from the universe. You're not a stranger here. You're a unique and temporary expression of this living planet. Your atoms are the same ones that form the stars. Your body is made of the same matter as everything around you. Separation is an illusion. When you truly realize this, not just intellectually but by feeling it, the need for control begins to melt away. If you're part of the whole, why would you be at war with it? If you sprouted from the same source as everything else, why would you need to dominate it? It's like your left hand trying to control your right hand. It doesn't make sense. They're parts of the same body. This understanding changes everything. You still act, still make choices, still have responsibilities, but the quality of your action is different. It doesn't come from fear and the need to control. It comes from the understanding that you're dancing with life, not fighting against it. Letting go of control doesn't mean abandoning all responsibility. It means distinguishing between what is your real responsibility and what is an illusion of control. It's your responsibility to treat people well. It's not your responsibility to make everyone like you. It's your responsibility to do your job with dedication. It's not your responsibility to guarantee that you'll never be fired. See the difference? Responsibility is about your actions. Control is about the results. You can control your actions to a point, but results depend on millions of variables beyond your reach. When you internalize this, life becomes lighter. And something beautiful happens when you let go of this need to control everything. Spontaneity returns to your life. Creativity flourishes, because creativity doesn't thrive under rigid control. It needs space to play, to experiment, to make mistakes. When you're too controlled, too planned, your creativity suffocates. Think of the best conversations you've ever had. Were they scripted? No, they flowed naturally. Think of the best moments of your life. How many did you plan down to the smallest detail? Probably very few. The magical moments usually catch us by surprise. that unexpected sunset, that laughter that bursts out of nowhere, that deep connection that wasn't scheduled. How do you start practicing this in daily life? First, by bringing awareness, by noticing when you're trying to control something. Just noticing is already a big step. Don't judge, don't fight yourself. Just observe. Look, I'm trying to control this, interesting. And then ask, is this really under my control? What can I actually do here? What do I need to release? Another practice is radical acceptance, looking at what is, not at what should be. The rain is falling. Okay, that is what it is. I can complain, or I can grab an umbrella. The person didn't change. Okay, that is what it is. I can keep beating the same drum, or I can accept it and decide what to do with that information. Acceptance isn't defeatist resignation, it's lucidity. It's seeing reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. And there's the daily practice of small surrenders, choosing something every day that you'll allow to happen without controlling. It can be something simple. Today, I won't plan every minute of the weekend. Today, I won't check work outside of work hours. Today, I won't try to steer the dinner conversation. Small exercises of letting go. Over time, this expands. Mindfulness is also essential in this. Being present with what's happening now without judgment, just observing, feeling, allowing. When you're stuck in thoughts about the future, that's when control takes over. What if this happens? What if that goes wrong? I'd better prepare for every possibility. Then you enter an exhausting mental loop. But when you return to the now, to the feeling of air entering your lungs, to the sounds around you, to the present moment, control has nothing to hold on to. And perhaps the most important practice is developing compassion for yourself, because you'll try to let go of control and then return to control 1,000 times. It's an old pattern, deeply rooted. It won't disappear overnight. There will be days when you'll feel zen, flowing with life. And there will be days when you'll want to control even the color of the sky. That's okay. It's human. Be gentle with yourself in this process. Opening yourself to the unknown is scary. I won't lie. It feels like you're jumping off a cliff without knowing if there's water below. But the truth is, you've always been jumping. The difference is that before, you pretended you had control over the cliff, gravity, and the water. Now you're just being honest about the nature of life, that it's a mystery, that the next moment isn't guaranteed, that everything can change. And paradoxically, that honesty brings peace. Because when you stop fighting against the nature of existence, the energy you used to spend in that battle becomes available for other things, for enjoying the moment, for connecting with people, for creating, for truly living, not rehearsing life while waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. The perfect moment is this one. Imperfect, uncertain, unpredictable, alive. Alan Watts used to say that trying to change what is like trying to smooth out the waves of the sea. You could spend your entire life trying to make the ocean flat like a swimming pool, but the ocean wasn't made to be flat. It has waves, it has movement, it has storms and calms. And the more you try to control it, the more ridiculous your attempt becomes. Not because you're weak, but because you're going against the very nature of the ocean. The same applies to life. Life has highs and lows. It has moments of light and moments of darkness. It has joys and sorrows. It has gains and losses. You can spend all your energy trying to make life always good, always stable, always controlled. Or you can learn to surf the waves, to be present with what is, to find your center even when everything around you is moving. And as you practice this, something interesting happens. You realize you have much more inner space. That constant tension you thought was normal begins to dissolve. The shoulders that were always tight start to relax. The jaw that was always clenched loosens. The mind that never stopped planning and worrying finds moments of silence. You breathe more deeply. You laugh more easily. You're more present. And there's profound freedom in this. When you no longer need to control everything, you no longer need to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You do what you can, the best you can, and let go. You trust, you allow, and you discover that the universe is far more capable of taking care of things than you ever imagined. Not always in the way you want, but always in the way it needs to be. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a lifelong practice. You'll have advances and setbacks, moments of clarity and moments of confusion. periods where you flow, and periods where you fall back into wanting to control everything. That's part of the path. The important thing is to keep returning, to keep letting go, to keep trusting, to keep choosing peace instead of the illusion of control. And in the end, you discover something surprising. That letting go of control didn't make you lose anything truly important. In fact, you gained. You gained inner peace. You gained presence. You gained the ability to enjoy life as it is, not as you think it should be. You gained more authentic relationships. You gained energy that you used to waste on useless worry. You gained yourself, free from the chains of the controlling ego. Life remains unpredictable. It always has been and always will be. But now you're no longer at war with that unpredictability. You're dancing with it. And there's beauty in that dance. A lightness, a sense of being truly alive, not just surviving inside a cage of controls and plans. So the big question that remains is this: are you going to keep spending your precious energy trying to control a world that cannot be controlled? Or will you redirect that energy toward living, feeling, growing, connecting? Will you spend your days in constant tension, or will you find peace in uncertainty? That choice, that one, is in your hands, and it's the only choice that really matters. Because in the end, the control we seek doesn't exist. It never has. It's a fantasy we created to feel safe in a vast and mysterious universe. But true security doesn't come from mastering the world. It comes from trusting yourself to handle whatever comes. It comes from knowing that you're resilient, capable, greater than any temporary challenge. And when you feel this, even for a moment, everything changes. Fear lessens, anxiety dissolves, control loses its meaning. Because you realize you're at home, you always have been, and at home you don't need to control. You simply are. You simply live. You simply dance with the mystery of being here now, in this impossible and wonderful moment that is existence. This was the invitation Alan Watts made his entire life. Let go, trust, flow. Not because life will always be easy if you do this, but because you'll be truly alive, no longer trapped in a bubble of imaginary control, but free to experience life in all its intensity. Beauty, pain, joy, complexity, and simplicity. Free to be human, free to make mistakes and get things right, free to love and to lose, free to live and eventually die, because all of it is part of the same movement. And when you stop resisting this movement, you discover it was always carrying you. You just needed to stop rowing against the current and let the river take you.